So by this point, I hope you realize that this is probably the 5th video in a series, and only now am I talking about naming. Because most people start with naming. They think that they could come up with a business idea and name it immediately. And you have to respect that that's an incredibly daunting task. I don't know anybody who is actually that great at coming up with a name in an instant, which means that there must be a process to building a name. In fact, you have to ask yourself what you ultimately intend to do with the name. Because there's not such thing as a cool name. I'm sorry, but I've never seen one, and I've never heard an example by anyone. I mean, is Coca-Cola a great name? Coca is an affiliation with cocaine, which used to be a core ingredient in cola. Is that a good name? Or how about people like, oh, I want a name like Google. You don't even know what a Google is. It sounds like a baby babbling, doesn't it? Right? But a Googleplex is the number 1 followed by 100 zeros, a large number representing all the data that Google is sorting through. Okay, now I get it. Or Nike, you want a name like Nike. It's mispronounced in most countries around the world. Most people say Nike. You see that you have this affiliation with what you think a good name is, and unfortunately you're biased based on the experience you have with the brand. Because you have a relationship with Starbucks, because you have a relationship with Ferrari, you think that the name is good, but in the truth, you actually are just using it as a reference point. So when you think about a name, the intention really has to be, it's a trigger. It's just a starting point of a relationship. Hopefully people will say the name, hear the name, be able to pronounce the name, and then it just triggers a whole bunch of affiliations. So like I said Nike a second ago, and all of you probably went off into this distant land. You started thinking of athletes and uniforms and Seattle, right? You kind of went all over the place with it. That's because they've taken their name and they've affiliated with a lot of things that you as a target consumer love. So when you're trying to pick a name, you really have to decide what you want it to represent more than anything. And there's a process to go through, and I'll make it really, really quick and simple. As I just described, you have to decide what position in the market you intend to claim with this name. Literally, what place are we going to call home? Okay, once you've studied that well, who are all the competitors? What are their names like, right? Are they long? Are they short? Are they funny? Are they colorful, right? Get a sense of those organizations so you don't come up with a name that sounds similar. And then once you've done that, you have to go through a series of brainstorming processes. And the brainstorming process works like this. You basically have to tell yourself there's not such thing as a wrong answer. The name process requires up to about 1,000 names to find the best one. So that means you're gonna have to let yourself go. You don't get to say that's a stupid name, or that name doesn't work for these 9 reasons. You just want to get the ideation process started. And the best way to start is to write a 5-word sentence that describes your business. In fact, not even a sentence. Give me 5 words. Let's take Amazon Kindle. Okay, let's just say that we were going to name that together. All right, first we have to ask ourselves, what's the position in the market that we're trying to claim, right? So go ahead and do that for yourself. What's the position? All right, great. What are the names of all the competitive devices, right? Ding, ding, you know this. Put it on the wall. Don't try to remember it. Put it on the wall. Now you know what names are distracting. You know what names people say most often, why do they say them most often, etc. And now you're going to get into a place where you're going to describe the function of the Amazon Kindle, right? And maybe the function is how the screen works. Maybe it's how easy it is to port information on and off of it, right? Whatever those descriptions are, give yourself those words. And this is where the ideation really comes in. Once you've picked a word, let your mind wander. Think about all the things that you affiliate with that word. So if the word was portable with Kindle, right? Anybody in the room want to scream one out? Please say a word. But portable, small, light, easy to pack, right? Just let yourself wander. Let all of those concepts come out of your consciousness, and do not constrain yourself. Don't say no, don't say bad, just get them all out. And you'll notice what starts to happen here is you start to back away from your product's function and more into the effect that it's going to have on people, how they're going to feel about your product or service, right? So as you go about that process, think about it. We just picked 5 words or so, and you're creating these long list of concepts. Now you get to pick and match. Wow, this concept and this concept work really well together. I'm going to come up with a word which means, well, This device is supposed to get people to imagine and read and think creatively. I want to ignite their understanding because reading is about ignition of consciousness. I know we're going to kindle their thoughts through content consumption on this magnificent device. That's why we should call it the Amazon Kindle, right? Let yourself go through that process and only then will you arrive at a destination. And if you're watching this video, then I ask you, do not land without at least 10 names. Half of them are going to get booted as soon as you start searching the internet. Stop by the website uspto.gov, United States Patent and Trademark Office.gov. You can conduct a search and find out if there's a trademark already in place for the name that you've just created. Go to Google or any search engine and type in those terms and see who else is using that vocabulary, and eventually you'll get down to a minimum of 3 names. Eventually, when you decide on a name, you have to file for a trademark. And there's tons of ways to go about doing that. You can use resources like LegalZoom, or you can hire an attorney to do it. But once you get those names, do not use them until you have gotten permission back from your legal counsel. Because whatever you think you're trying to grow with your business, one trademark infringement will put you out of business. And that's why it's so important to go through that competitive research. It's so important to think about what you're trying to accomplish. So important to think about all the words that you would affiliate so that when you pick that name, you believe in it. It's different, and when you try to register the domain, secure the trademark, and eventually promote it to the market, you don't have anything to worry about. You know that it's right, and now you can focus on your business.